Yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Big Cozy, Too Cozy, aka the Nigerian Muscle, the motherfucking North African God. I'm here with my two amigos, the motherfucking heel of all heels, the dickhead Nigel Jackson.
God, it's a crazy intro, man.
My bad, yo.
The dickhead himself.
The king of them all.
Shouts out to Heel Jackson, Relaxing Heel Jackson, and the artiste, Saint Picasso himself, Saint Kitsch. He's the reincarnation of Pablo Picasso, but in African God form.
Just call me Rob, man. Just call me Rob.
Yeah,
man.
So what's up, fellas? Let the people know who you are, and let's talk about how your past week was.
This is Relaxing _ Jackson, and I've been chilling out. I'm actually a little tired at the moment. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm feeling like a little drowsy, but I'm here with y'all. This is the first time we've been together in a few weeks, so I'm kind of excited to get this episode done. So I mean, just kind of looking forward to this Kendrick album. Just kind of chilling out, watching movies and whatnot. We actually went to recently go see Doctor Strange. That was cool.
Oh, word. How was that?
So me personally, I think it's a good movie. I think it's like a 4 out of 5, 7 out of 10 type movie. Like, you're gonna enjoy it. I think it.
4 out of 5, 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
So why is it not an 8 out of 10?
Because 8 out of 10 will be a
4 out of 5.
Well, okay, so look, let me explain.
Yeah, bad thing, man.
No, wait. Let me explain that. I thought about this. I thought about why I would say that, right? So look, if it was out of 5, I would give it a 4, right?
All right.
But in reality, I personally think it's more towards the 3.5 range. So if it was out of 10, I would say it's a 7.
But doesn't that kind of go against the logic of the whole grading system? Yeah,
I think it does enough to be a 4. It does. So I feel like that'd be like, just doing it. But I feel like,
so why don't you just do it out of 10?
No.
Yeah, bro, you literally just discredited. You really just disproved the own theory you like fought us for years.
It's 2 different scales.
Come on, it's I gave the movie a C+.
C+.
Yeah, C+.
Jeez. So I'm guessing I should still be watching a few other movies before that.
No, you can watch the movie outright on its own. Just formulate your own opinion. I don't think it's the worst movie, because it's not. There's some good parts in there, but not everything in the movie I like.
I'll if I get a chance, I'll check it out though. I'll check it out if I get a chance.
You're not watching it. It's all right, bro. I wish you stopped doing that.
What you mean?
You still haven't watched Batman.
It's okay.
I literally played Batman twice. What are you talking about?
And fell asleep both times.
Yeah, I played it twice.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right, so what happens?
What are you doing? What are you watching?
Dark. It gets really dark. It gets really dark. What am I watching?
Yeah.
Right now, primarily I'm watching like a lot of interviews. A lot of like I'm really into like the biopic thing, but shows wise, I'll have to say Atlanta. And to me, I think right now to me, without question, this may be one of the better seasons out of the show.
I gotta catch up.
Yeah, just the way he's able to attack certain subjects, and it's really 2 series. There's two different series happening at once in Atlanta. Like that first episode, there's a couple other episodes that is not in relation to that episode, but the same theme or premise.
Okay, so just kind of one-off type episodes.
No, to me, I think I look at it like a series.
So my God.
Like it's more or less a series around the same subject matter. It's about the same subject, more or less, just through different stories and different vantage points, I think.
Got you.
Yeah, pretty good though. Great. Especially the last episode. I didn't expect to see. I didn't expect to see. I didn't. Well, you probably seen the clip, but I didn't expect to see Liam Neeson in the show. His part is extremely. It's interesting to say the least.
Have not seen that episode yet.
Well, they had a clip. They had clips on social media and stuff, so I wasn't sure if you saw. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say anything else about it, but just trust me, it's interesting. But yeah, but for the most part, that's all. In terms of what I've been watching, that's really about it, though. I wanted to watch well, and I know we're going to talk about it. I wanted to catch the fight over the weekend, but I caught it later. I had to recap it, but man, I ended up going to see Freddie Gibbs, and bro, in terms of performers, it's not a lot of frills with his performance, but in terms of breath control, that was an amazing show to see.
That's what's up, man.
Every rap was just like what you hear on the song. No, I need to take a breath. He'll spit the whole verse, then be like, "Yo, that's my favorite verse. Let's rap it again," which I wasn't mad at. I wish he would just perform other songs, but hey, but it was pretty good though. And of course, he had something to say about academics, and someone else will be talking about as well. So
now I know you've been listening to Future's album. His album's been doing pretty well at the sales and whatnot. So
yeah, I think he's on pace to do like around 200 or over 200, I believe, or he did at least over 200, I believe. Yeah. It's to me, like, I think we said it before, it was a really great album. I'm not surprised that it's at Billboard #1 right now, just because it's, to me personally, I think to me this was like a great Future album. So, and of course, anytime you have a music video with Drake for Waiting for You, where they take it back to like the medieval times, you got to do numbers, man.
Yeah, I think Future's feat going #1 on Billboard with his album and the single is kind of Drake-esque type shit. I think Future is the first rapper since Drake to do that, to have a #1 album to go along with a #1 single, which is he's in a class of his own by doing that. So shout out to Future, definitely shout out to Drake. So I think that's it's an amazing feat that not too many people could say that they have done.
Yeah. Hey, Nigel, quick question.
What up?
Yeah. Why did you make that reaction when I said that Drake gave me an album that sounded like Waiting for You? Why do you give me? Really? Why?
You see how fast he said it? I don't want it.
It's just a lot of I don't want it.
I don't like good music.
No, I didn't say that. Me personally, I'm not looking for a Drake R&B album. I know some people like that, but me personally, I'm not looking for that from him. That's just me personally.
You don't like half of his career, pretty much.
Okay, I'm all right with saying that. I mean, if that's the way you want to put it, I'm all right with that.
No, it's just generalizing for the most part. That's it.
I didn't say that, but
I mean, half his career is built off of that style of Drake.
All right.
I mean, if not more, if not 75%.
Me, Spence has a strong point, though. He does.
That's what's up. I didn't say that. I never said that.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm just generalizing it at that point. That's all. You only like 25% of what Drake's ever put out. It's fine. Yeah, everything else you hate.
No, I'm not for it. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's cool, bro.
So you're going back on the hate the Drake train.
I'm not. I don't think that's hate. I think that's just having an honest opinion. You know, I prefer Drake to rap, and y'all prefer him to sing. And that's
we like both.
Yeah, we like both. We like both equally for the most part.
Okay, well that's what's up. I have a preference.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. If you hate 75% of what someone puts out, there's nothing wrong with that.
Hey, man.
Yeah, man. If you prefer to hate, you just prefer to hate. It's all good.
At least I'm listening to his music, and I can give you a thorough, thought on his music because I take my time out to listen to his.
So what did you think of Wait for You?
I thought it was a decent song. I thought it was a good song. I like the whole album. So it's not like I'm like sectioning that off because it's a singy song type song. Like I like the song with him and Kodak. You know, I think that song's pretty decent. It's not my favorite, but it's all right.
Yeah, you're a funny guy. Yeah.
Did you like D.M.B. by A$AP Rocky?
I actually did like that song. I'm not gonna lie, man. I think the visual for that song is really cool. I know me and you were talking about it earlier. And I think that people have to give A$AP Rocky a little bit of credit when it comes to having interesting visuals for his videos. And this is another video like that. And outside of that, the song is good and it has a little, you know, decent sound to it. A$AP Rocky's funny because like he'll always do that little singy song shit in his songs at the end. And I find that to just be something he just constantly does. It's funny to me. So I always look for it.
Does it grind your gears?
Say it again.
Does it grind your gears because it's like singy?
It's just interesting that sometimes it feels like it goes with the songs and sometimes it just feels like, hey, I want to sing at the end of this, so I'm going to, regardless if it fits or not.
Oh, because Nigel's looking for it. Got it.
Maybe because of me. If he's doing that because of me, then shouts out to A$AP Rocky. You know, that's it's quite the thing to do.
Gotta love Big Hill, man. Big Hill Jackson, man.
Did you check out the song, Spence, or what did you think of it?
I mean, I had a chance to check it out. I only listened to it because of all the hype around it with the whole proposal thing.
Yeah.
So I saw it like once. As far as I can say, like from what I remember, it was a good song for the most part. To me, I think just like Nigel was saying, like the creative process of like any of A$AP's not albums, but just videos in particular, because I think more often than not you have a lot of people that do not take they don't put as much effort, I would say, into music videos in comparison to like what A$AP's done over the course of his career since the beginning for the most part. So
yeah, I definitely most agree with that. I just think that he's kind of underappreciated when it comes to the music videos, just because he's not putting out the popping albums or the popping songs these days, just because he's more into fashion and whatever else his ventures bring him to. But when it comes to visuals, I would just say visuals, because his songs lately are kind of like hit and miss, but his visuals is very unique, and I'll say it's kind of from a creative direction. I feel like A$AP Rocky's videos, you can't compare him to nobody else in the game. They're not the typical I'm standing in front of a car, 4 or 5 bitches in the back. Right. You know,
exactly.
It's very different. Very like, hey, it's in a sense you're kind of like watching a artistic short film, and I think that's cool for him.
Nah, definitely. I wonder who's actually like been like the primary like producer or director of his videos, just because like sometimes it takes a special person to even create that vision for a person. Yeah. When it's like, hey, I see this in my head and this is how I want it to be. And it's when you're doing something to that extent, like it's down to every detail. So
yeah, it's dope. And I think people really like the video too. I mean, the song is okay. It's cool. I mean, it's better than like Bushka Boy or whatever like that.
Yes.
But shouts out A$AP Rocky. I don't know if this leads to an album or if he's just going to keep dropping like random singles or whatever, just to, I don't know, keep his name afloat in the music game.
I feel like people like that overall, but I don't feel like people really like Jack Harlow's album overall. It will have like a little mixed review to it from what I was seeing. Did y'all guys take out the time to listen to that?
Yes. Bro, I listened to this album, right? It was a hard one to get through personally. As a person that listens, I'll be honest with you. There's nothing to lie about. Like, it was a hard album to get through. All the hype that's led up to Jack Harlow's, he's about to be like the next one, X, Y, and Z. Some people don't care for like his style of rapping because it's very reminiscent of Drake, which I'm not mad at. To me, I think he has a mixture of a couple different influences. So I don't really trip off of it. But to me, only song that I can think of just offhand that I liked in the beginning was just the first song. like the first song, and that's because it kind of reminded me of Mac Miller. I believe that was the song that reminded me of Mac Miller to some extent. But that song cuts off like in the first, like after like 90 seconds, like abruptly. So he had Snoop Dogg on the album, which I wasn't mad at, but I didn't like the way it transitioned from like it to me. It became kind of the cookie cutter. Oh, I remember Drake did this with She's Fancy, for instance, right? Where it goes a certain way and then the beat changes. He does that, but it doesn't sound good. Overall, though, to me, I would say out of 5, I would give this album like maybe a 2. Like hands down, his first album is 100 times better. And that his first album, I expected to hear what I heard on this album.
Yeah, I think everybody was expected to hear like a more evolved Jack Harlow. When he came out with Nail Tech and I was getting like a little hype and a little buzz and shit, I heard that song and I was kind of like, the rapping is kind of mid, but I'm gonna just give it a chance. So the album comes out. Let's see what the hype is about. I listen to it and I'm like, there's a running theme to a lot of these songs. The beats always switch up, which I find very annoying. That's why I didn't like about like the Baby Keem album. A lot of the songs on there, the beats are always fucking switching up. And in his since we're trying to take him as a serious artist, lyrically it's not that great, and his content is always talking about females, which is nothing wrong, right? When a rapper is talking about females, but when the hype is like he's the next, or he's like Drake, or he's the next one to blow, he's supposed to be doing 400 500,000 the first week because he's popping like that, and then he's rapping about a certain type of content and it's just geared to a certain crowd. In a sense, it's kind of like, no, the guy is not as what you hyped him up to be. I'm not trying to knock Jack Harlow himself because he's just doing his music, but the fan base was like really, they brought out the knee pads for him, and I don't understand why they brought the knee pads out, but it is what it is. I think the album is a dud.
I feel like
capital DUD.
I feel like when I was listening to it, like it just sounded kind of okay, to me. Like it didn't sound like it was really bad. It sounded like it was good enough to listen to it. And I feel like, that's what it is to me. I think the expectations around this album to me are kind of weird because when I listened to his first album, I wasn't really expecting anything other than an album that was like at the least enjoyable. So like when I hear some people saying like he shouldn't be compared to Eminem and stuff like that, I'm like, who was? Like, to me, like for real, I didn't hear anybody doing that. I see like, girls in TikToks listening to Jack Harlow, and that's not a bad thing, but it's like, I don't really see anybody really trying to make it out like to be like that. And I expect him to sell well because of the crowd that he caters to, so I know they're looking for him to drop music and whatever. So to me, it's not necessarily really that big of a deal. I just didn't think this album was really that great. That's all.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say like the album was great. I mean, but he did sell well. I think he did like 130 in the first week, or projected to do 130, which is great. It's big. He smashed a lot of people's current favorite artists, not named Future, Drake, Thug, whatever the fuck. Or Dirk. I think he beat Dirk, but like overall, I think people like Dirk a lot better than Jack Harlow. I mean, I'm not mad at him. I think he might be one of those artists where it's a toxic fan base that might turn people off because there's so much hype around him.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I could see that. I mean, to me, when I initially listened to the album, going in to listen to the album, I'll say this. I expected this album to be really good, to be honest. I had high expectations for this album when I listened to his first album, right? And especially when you see like, okay, he has a song like Nail Tech that's get him even bigger buzz. He clearly, we can tell like, okay, he put out like 1 or 2 hits before, got hot. He was able to do it again on the second album. So clearly there's something there in terms of knowing how to make that type of song. So I expected the music to be really well, just because when you listen to his first album, you can tell what makes people like the first album to me. where it's just more or less a reflective album, right? Where he's more or less talking about his life, X, Y, and Z. At this point, this album, and the thing I think that made the album bad to me was just a repetitive conversation of just dealing with chicks, right? Which is nothing wrong with it, but it's on every song, and it's like what 15, 16, maybe 20 songs. I don't want to hear that. Definitely when it's like these empty out beats that sound nothing like you put out before. Like if you listen to it, honestly, if you listen to his first album, like the production is great. The production, I'm not gonna say production is great. The production is great for the sound that he was going for. This album, they grabbed the biggest producers. You have them in there with Pharrell. I think we saw them with picks with Drake before and everything like that, right? So clearly, this guy is supposed to be like someone's choosing him, right? The same as when we saw to me, I know when I heard Fabio do the song with Kanye West and Alicia Keys, it's like, okay, this is like someone that y'all think clearly the consensus is this guy should be next. He fell short of this on this album, bro. Like to me, this album was just nothing more than like chick songs, which took away from why his core and why most of what you see on social media, at least, are all came with the same. What the majority consensus I've seen, at least, is that this is a bad album. Like,
I mean, it kind of comes off as industry plant, and I think when people see and recognize and hear industry plant type shit, people are quick to point it out, and rightfully so, because it just comes off as like this is manufactured. And he did well, and I think there's a reason why he did well. And you're going to hear, like, you know, you might, if you walk into a club tonight or tomorrow night, you're going to hear some of his music. But I always like to say, hey, 2-3 years from now, are you going to be listening to this shit? And if the answer is no, then, you know, maybe the music is just not that great. Yeah. And my bad, let me just finish this. But like, and the reason why I'm saying that for him is because people are treating him like, hey, he's an upper echelon rap artist. If we're treating him on the levels of like a D.M.B rapper that does D.M.B drill, the expectation is not there. So like a lot of the music is forgettable. You know, after hearing it months down the road, we forget about the shit. But like when you have him, when it's like how people go back and still listen to like Nothing Was the Same, or if you're reading this, that's kind of like the expectation for him with this album, and it just fell flat. You know, musically it fell flat. Sure, yeah, he could brag about the numbers and good for him, but I don't know if somebody's gonna go back in 2 to 3 years and bump this album.
Yeah, 2 or 3 years from now, I don't think in terms of this album. I think to me, when it comes to Jack Harlow at this point, I think it's really going to determine his career. To me, I think is going to be determined by his next album, right?
I agree.
Because his first album, to me, I think this is nothing more than like a sophomore slump, which most artists go through. You put out the first album, everybody loves it. Then when you go to make your second album, it doesn't sound anything. It sounds more like you said, an industry plant to some extent. So it's like industry plantish. So I really think his third album is going to be the breaking point or the tipping point for him for us to know if he's going to be around for a few more years, because I think the expectations people had for him were high based on what he had done up until this point. I think he was on the path to reach those expectations in terms of he's like the next one out of his generation, but falling short like this is really going to take for his third album for us to know if he's even going to be, like you said, a conversation or people want to listen to anything he put out a couple of years ago. So
I mean, since we're on this motherfucking topic, we might as well get to it, because this is the motherfucking shit that everybody's going to be talking about probably from years to come. And that's Nigel's favorite artist. When Nigel brings out the knee pads, he only brings it out for one occasion.
That's wild. That's a wild thing to say.
I mean, this is your boy. It's your favorite, Nigel's favorite rapper today. His probably in the top 3 of him, Kendrick Lamar. He dropped a song called The Heart Part 5. Nigel thought Kendrick was speaking to him. He felt the beats in his heart when Kendrick was spitting. Nacha loved the deep face, but he didn't love that his face wasn't used in the video. So Nacha, go ahead, break it down, because I know you could give out a lecture on this, a sermon. Go ahead.
I thought the song was a good song. I listened to it. I thought it was a nice little warm up for Mr. Morale and Big Steppers. You know, like I think that this is, I don't think this is going to be representative of what majority of the songs are going to sound like. I think that we're going to find out a lot more on Friday, but I know that everybody's going to be listening to it. So it's just a little appetizer for what we're about to get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. I think this is going to be an appetizer for what we're going to get, but I do think, to me, I feel like the heart series for the most part is kind of like, it sets the ambiance for like the album to some extent, right? Just because, or more or less, it's like a thesis statement. Because even if you listen to the Heart Part 4, for instance, you go back and listen to it now after D.M.B. came out, there's literally different beats. Some of the beats that are on D.M.B. are on that song. Some of the concepts and some of the subject matter he talks about are also on the Heart Part 4. I think the Heart Part 5, just like anything else before, is nothing more than Kendrick Lamar getting whatever he has on his chest off, whether it's in this situation. I think just the different elements in which he's talking about certain things. And especially when we get to the very end of the song, when he starts talking from the perspective of Nipsey Hussle, this was like something that, to me, I think the fans were waiting for to some extent, just because I think everybody's just been salivating at the moment at Kendrick drops something.
I think as far as the concept, the whole I am, all of us, we're going to see a lot of that. Like, I think we're going to see that carry on. But as far as the actual sound, I just don't know. That's all.
So for you guys being the bigger Kendrick fans, right? What would you give this song out of 5? No, for real. What would you give if you
a 5
out of 5?
5.
So you deem it as a classic.
I deem it as a perfect song. I don't deem it as a classic. To me, I can't say something's a classic when it's only been it's been less than a week.
That's fair.
But like, to me, in terms of like when I listen to this song, to me, I think it's a perfect song. To me, for one, I love the fact that he uses the Marvin Gaye sample, for one, and then it's like even in the sense of like how he when the beat's playing, for instance, right, and he's even saying, "Yo, take the drums out," and he still keeps going, right. To me, it's a sense of like, okay, this gives me an ambience, or it makes me feel like I'm part. Like when I listen to it, it feels like, okay, I can see this being at this show. This gets me hyped to want to go see Kendrick Lamar. This gets me hyped to go listen to Kendrick Lamar. So to me, it was a perfect song nonetheless. I think this was another great addition to the Heart series. Nothing's better than Part 2, but this is probably one of the best ones. This is definitely another great one, I'll say.
Yeah, it's a 4. You know, I thought it was a good song. I thought it was a solid song, but it's not a song that I'll necessarily be like, yo, I need to listen to this at the moment. But I will be listening to it in the future because it's a good song.
What elements did you not care for of the song?
I'm not going to say that I necessarily didn't care for anything. I just don't care for it as much as other things that I've listened to. So it's a 4. You know, okay. If it's like, there's things that I care for more than this. Like, you know, it's not bad. It's solid. You know, it's just not the best. That's all.
Okay.
I mean, it's better than me because
you're a hater. That's why.
I'm not now I'm a hater. I'm a hater. I already said that, you know, I like the song, so don't try to create some type of narrative.
Nah, I'm just saying. I'm just saying as to your reaction from it yesterday. It was funny.
You don't like Kendrick Lamar, man?
No, I never said that.
That's what I'm just asking.
Oh no, I like Kendrick. I think Kendrick. So no. So I think, and I don't want to get on this because I know this is what you guys are living for, but with Kendrick, all right. When people talk about like the best rappers in the game, some people really like Drake.
Right.
Some people really like J. Cole, and then some people really like Kendrick. And I guess you could also have that subspace for people who really like Kanye. For me, I would fall more into the Drake and J. Cole space. Now, I'm not on the Kendrick side as much as Drake and J. Cole. I like Kendrick's music. Nigel will even tell you, I went back to listen to Pimp and Butterfly. And I was kind of like, this album's actually not that fucking bad. And I just had to be mature enough to like actually understand and listen to it. Because back then, I wasn't listening to Pimp and Butterfly. I just wasn't. Back then, I was fucking.
So you talking about going to Africa, bro? Come on, man. Where's Chief Keef at, man? Where's Gucci, man?
All I'm saying is you guys have known me for a very long time. So, things are a lot different musically. So I respect the album. And with hearing the Part 5, I was telling Nigel, I was like, yo, like the motherfucker is spitting and he's spitting damn good. I'm going to listen to the album because I'm expecting great things from the album because I like D.M.B. I thought D.M.B. was a fantastic album. I liked it better to Pimp a Butterfly. But when I first heard that, when I was first listening to the song, that's why I texted you guys like, oh, this is to Pimp a Butterfly Part 2. But, after going through the song, I was just kind of like, oh, this song is actually dope as hell. I like the message behind it. I think it's good. I think what people have to understand is not every rap song needs to be hardcore in the club, I'm gonna shoot 'em up type shit. Like it's okay to have that balance. And I'm a big preacher and believer in balancing. You can't have everything in one way because it just doesn't. You don't become. You don't grow your taste. You don't grow what you're listening to, and you don't become more wise by sitting there just listening to the same shit over and over again.
And to add on to what you said, I feel like you can't go too far in the opposite direction either. Like, don't listen to Kendrick Lamar for the sake of trying to break down every single word he says. Like, that to me is very odd behavior. It just is.
To me, I sometimes I think it can, when people start going down certain wormholes, I think it does get a little nutty. But like at the same time, to me, I just look at it like, I look at it no different. When I look at Kendrick Lamar's music for this, right? I look at it in the same sense that 60 years from now, 70, 80 years from now, more people will probably break down his music to that capacity. Maybe not in the sense of like, oh, there's 5 rings, 5 Kobe, 5 this. Like I saw some video where they broke down like the verse on nostalgia, which it made sense, but it's like, I don't think necessarily it's always true, but I don't know. To me, I don't have a problem with people having their own breakdowns from it because it's no different than when you look at poets or anything like that, when they reflect on their work from 50, 60 years ago.
I'm not saying that there is anything wrong with breaking down his music. What I am saying is that sometimes people can go out of their way to break down things that don't need to be broken down. Like, sometimes it's just good to listen to something and enjoy it as it is. I mean, analyze it, but not to the point where you're trying to find something that's not there.
Yeah, like I understand what Nigel's saying with that too. Sometimes people have a habit of their fandom is so strong where everything is deep, and sometimes it's not deep.
Nah, like, fact.
Yeah. So I think that's a problem with a lot of fanboys of Kendrick. Not taking nothing away from Kendrick, but I'm just saying a lot of his fans are like, everything has there's a motive behind each song and everything is extremely deep. And, you got to take shrooms to really understand the sounds and vibes of shit. But I want to ask you a question though, Spence, right? As you being a connoisseur of the Big Stepper, you ready for the question?
I'm listening. I'm all ears.
All right. So it just came out recently that Drake reportedly got a huge 9-figure deal from Universal, which will be the first rapper in history to get a 9-figure deal. Do you think Kendrick Lamar could command a 9-figure deal? And whether you think so or not, how do you feel about Drake's reported 9-figure deal?
I think I would say yes. I think Kendrick Lamar could, broker a deal like that. Now I don't. Now would it be the same amount as what Drake has been given? I'm not quite sure because the rumor has been that Drake has been offered upwards of $500 million, which is really living up to the LeBron size deal that they've quoted it as. But I do think Kendrick Lamar, if he chose to say, if he came back and said, hey, I want to do X, Y, and Z, and this is how much it's going to cost for X, Y, and Z, and this is all these different variables, I think he could definitely pull it off. Just because, to me personally, I don't think Kendrick Lamar has put out a bad album before. I think all of his albums are all universally different in a sense. So I think just because of that and the fandom, I wouldn't be surprised. But when it comes to Drake's deal, that's impressive. That's impressive, bro. That's impressive for an artist like him to get 500 million or somewhere near there. They're saying somewhere between or from what I've heard, it's somewhere between 450 and 500. It's really impressive, bro. To me, I think this shows that this guarantees us as music fans that we're, without question, we'll be getting nothing but Drake music for the years to come, as well as showing like, hey, in these certain situations, these labels realize like, okay, he could possibly go off and do something on his own, which I felt at first, initially I felt he should have, but after watching a clip from YG, I chose another reason why I think this deal is probably perfect for him. But overall, I would just say it's a great deal. I think we'll see a lot more from Drake, as well as seeing what comes, just because I think there's like a split with his masters, some type of split with his masters in the process as well. So
I think it's go ahead.
I was going to ask you, Nigel, what you think of it.
I think it's a good deal. I think that it works out for Drake. I'm just curious to know as to if this deal is going to give him more control over his contract than he did before. And I don't know the ins and outs of contracts, so I wouldn't know anything about that. But that being said, I'm curious to know if it's doing anything for him business-wise other than it just being more money, which that's a hell of a lot of money for somebody to make. Don't get me wrong, but I'm also curious to know the type of control that he got with that, to see if that changed anything for him that they might not have done for somebody else.
Yeah, I used to say he was the LeBron James of the rap game. Now I'm going to say he's the Floyd Mayweather of the rap game. He's commanding so much money. He has so much influence and power. You know, he's kind of 50 and up. You know what I'm saying?
Hey man, shouts out to Drake, man. Like I say, he's doing his thing. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to me, I think when it just comes to this, it's impressive just seeing how far artists, because we all got introduced to Drake at the very beginning when no one knew who he was. Some of us from Degrassi. Like, to see him get to this benchmark and still be willing to put out music, as well as I did listen to some clips from DJ Academics where he said he did have a personal conversation with Drake. And from what it sounds like, it's like he gets a blank check. Like anything he wants, it's a blank check. Like, hey, whatever you want to do, here's a blank check. Do whatever you want. It costs 10 million. Go ahead, do it. Because it's someone like Drake. It solidifies him as a person that's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So I'll be interested to see what comes from him, just from the boss aspect as well. So this is really going to be interesting, though. I wonder if the thing I'm really curious about is if when he puts out his next album, which some people have rumored to come out sometime soon.
Wow.
Or sometime this year.
That's what I've been hearing.
Yeah. As I'm not sure if I know Nigel didn't listen to Passion Fruit. Not Passion Fruit, but
More Life.
More Life. I know Nigel didn't, but I remember he had a song with Thug on there. I wonder if he's going to put out an unreleased joint, because I'm sure they have something. I'm wondering if he's going to put anything out now that the sticky situations happen with the YSL, Young Thug and YSL.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Shouts out to him, yo. It seems like they're going through some trouble.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy because it kind of sprung up. What? yesterday, as of this recording, like yesterday night and shit, Spence, you kind of broke the news. You were kind of like our down south correspondent. And
yes, he was. He was on the scene.
Yeah, he was on the scene.
You gotta chill.
So
live from Highly Advised Podcast, we're giving you footage, unreleased footage of Young Thug being arrested by the feds. The feds have done a sweep.
In all seriousness, though, like far as like Thug and Gunna or whatever, of course, listeners, we don't know the ins and outs of what the hell is really going on because everything literally just happened at the time of this recording. I'm pretty sure by the time the next episode drops, not this episode as you're hearing it, but the next one, there's going to be more details flooding the internet about what the fuck is really going on. I mean, I hope Young Thug is not accused of the crimes that he's being accused of. But of course, you know, we don't fucking know. We don't know what the fuck is going on. All we could do is just hope for the young brothers and they could get back home to their families. Basically, that's it.
I would just rather not see them end up in prison for anything. So shouts out to them. I hope this is just some type of mix up or they just kind of got caught up in something and they'll be able to get off.
Yeah, I'm hoping so because this is
breaking news. Breaking news.
I'm checking Twitter. So apparently they're saying Lil Baby is also a target. But from Twitter, a tweet from Rap TV says new documents reveal Lil Baby and 4PF and others may be targeted by the feds as well.
You know, I feel like this might be some type of you know how sometimes they try to get rappers all in one group, you know what I mean? It sounds like it might be one of those situations where they just seen a situation and they're trying to grab a whole bunch of people up at once and they happen to be included in this group of people. Because let's not forget, I think the number of people that were indicted in the first place was like 56.
Yeah. Something. It was a crazy number.
Right.
Like it's I don't know if this document is true because if this document is true, this is like a couple different rap crews as well as podcasters. Like if this document is true, which you can't trust the internet half the time. This could clearly probably be something bad, but yeah, I don't know, man. This is kind of crazy how something like this works. It does seem like it's very reminiscent of like the 90s. Or the 2000s when you heard about like the hip hop police in New York.
Yeah.
It's not the same because this would be a federal situation, but this seems very reminiscent though.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I hope that these young brothers could get back to their families. And like Nigel says, it's all a misunderstanding.
Nah, definitely so. Because I think without question, this definitely shocked everybody. No different than like over the weekend when Canelo fought Bivol, shocked the whole world of boxing for the most part. Some people did have Bivol or Bivol. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce his name. Sorry if I get it wrong. But some people did have him predict. Some people predicted like he would be a challenge for Canelo, but like anybody else, we all know how that works. But yeah. Bivol, he ended up beating Canelo and becoming the champion. Did you guys get a chance to watch this fight?
I got to see the highlights of the fight, and whenever I saw Bivol going off and striking on Canelo, it seemed like he was actually really kind of striking him punches and bunches, had him against the ropes. Like he was just it seemed like he was overwhelming him through a lot of the fight, and I thought that was interesting because me personally, I've never seen Canelo in that spot. But from what everybody says, like it would make sense if he is the bigger fighter and he's not used to fighting in that weight class, that maybe he just might not be able to use some of the tactics to win against somebody like that.
Excuses. That's all I'm gonna say. Because Dmitry Bivol fought his fight and he didn't fight Canelo's fight, and he's actually a good boxer. That's what the fight showed. Right. He's not some can. So people are forgetting Canelo, before he went on his conquest of 168 pounds, he did go up to 175, the same weight class Dmitry Bivol's at, to beat Sergey Kovalev for that belt. And actually, they fought on the same night as Jorge Masvidal beat up and spanked Nate Diaz. That was that one night where like, oh, they didn't fight, you know, they're holding off fighting for the UFC, et cetera, et cetera. Canelo has already had taste of 175 gold. Now he goes up again and to fight Bivol for 175 gold again. And this time he fucking loses. Not because of the sheer size or strength. It's because Dmitry Bivol is actually a legitimately good boxer. Now saying, well, rematch might happen, it might not happen. If the rematch does happen, Dmitry Bivol says, I would like to fight at Canelo's weight class now and fight for his championships. And if that goes down, I'm all there for it. Because if he beats Canelo twice back to back, the conversation between Canelo and Floyd is done. It's over. So I would like to see that fight. Congratulations to Dmitry Bivol, because obviously not too many people gave him a chance. And I think this is good. It gives something for the community of boxing to really talk about and get more interested into. Because if Canelo won this, he was supposed to fight Triple G, and he was probably going to knock out Triple G because Triple G is old, and you know. So I feel like this is kind of like a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not mad at that. I think especially when it comes to the sport, like it's always a blessing when you get the upset that ends up being like, okay, now at this point, right? If Canelo were to win, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a close fight, they ran it back for a trilogy. So I think this is like, and I think for a fighter like Canelo, this is something that he needs personally, because I think more often not, many fans have said like, hey, now granted, when he first fought Sergey, like that was an actual champion, but more often not, a lot of people say he handpicks a lot of his fighters now. And because he's on the A side, which even Floyd says, hey, he's going to pick who he wants to pick. But like, yeah, I think this is a good fight that ended up being a defeat for Canelo. He barely won any of the rounds. He was getting tagged. Yeah. He was getting, even when he would throw some of his punches, he was getting caught with good counters, which was surprising because any other fighter, you could tell he would outclass them. So for someone like Canelo, I think this is going to be good. And even the way he handled the loss by just saying like, hey, you win some, you lose some. I just want an immediate rematch. Now that immediate rematch, if he loses that, I'm not sure where that's going to put him, or I don't know. I'm not sure where that conversation will lead for him at that point, just because at the end of the day, the person with the belt is always going to be the king to some extent. Definitely when you beat the best, when you're beating like punks or whatnot, it doesn't really, you're the champion until someone actually is really clearing out a spot. So I think this is going to be interesting. I think this should be an interesting chapter in Canelo's career, whether he wins or loses in the rematch, but definitely shock the world.
I'm definitely going to watch if the rematch goes down, especially at Canelo's weight class this time at 168, I'm going to definitely tune in for that, because it's just, hey man, the boxing world they're going to watch this like, oh shit, what's going to happen? So most definitely I'm tuning into the rematch if it goes down.
Yeah. Oh, it's definitely going to happen. Like the only way it wouldn't happen is like unless Bivol was just like, yo, he found some way of running away from it, or if the boxing gods just said like, or Eddie Hearns said like, hey, he pulled some slimy deal like dude did back in the day where I think Zab Judah lost. Zab Judah say he lost a championship fight but kept all his belts. Like, as long as there's nothing like that, we're all good. But
yeah, and before we move on, another thing that a lot of people were complaining about that fight was the judges' scorecards. So most people had Canelo winning 2 or 3 rounds out of 12. It was, he got the ears boxed off of him. But the judges' scorecards, all 3 judges had it so close that if Dmitry Bivol didn't win the last round, the fight would have been a draw. Or if Canelo scored a knockdown, at least in the last round, Canelo would have won. And people are outraged with it because they're like, yo, this is corruption 101. And don't get me started on the corruption, because that, that shit's been going on for years. And this is just another sprinkle to that fucking madness. So, but other than that, shouts out to Dmitry Bivol. Definitely celebrate. I know he's turning up wherever he's going.
The same night that happened, UFC 274 happened. And I know me and Lau are watching that. Spencer, do you get a chance to watch that at all?
Yeah, I ended up watching it the next day. I actually, by the end of the show, I ended up having a chance to catch the main event. So, but I did end up checking the rest of the card. I mean, for the most part, it was only two things that really stuck out to me in this whole card, to be honest with you. The main event and the fight between Michael Chandler and Tony Ferguson. Man, at this point, Tony Ferguson gets knocked out cold in the second round.
Beautiful.
Amazing. I realized more than likely he probably laid there for so long and looked like he was like, to me, this was like a Manny Pacquiao moment, to be honest with you. When he fought Marquez for like the fourth or fifth time.
Yeah, got KO'd, yeah.
Yeah, but it was also because he ended up falling on his head, actually. But nonetheless, that was an impressive fight. I think the first round, more often than not, I would say that Michael Chandler was getting the better of Tony Ferguson. Tony was hitting him. You even could tell by the end of the fight, by the end of the first round, coming out into the second round, you saw where Michael Chandler had a cut on himself already. So you could tell this wasn't like a walk in the park. He wasn't taking any damage whatsoever. But he ended up I think it was maybe within the first 2 minutes of the second round when they came out, he ended up doing just a straight kick to the face, right on the butt, and shut him down so quickly, man. So quickly. That, hands down, that might be one of the best knockouts of the year.
Yeah. That's probably going to be knockout of the year.
I was reading a thread on Twitter and they were talking about the biggest or the best up kick knockouts. And I think that and Vitor Belfort Machida are the top two up kick knockouts in UFC history. It's just such a devastating kick that he landed on Tony Ferguson. It's been a while since you see a lot of people get knocked out, but in that way, it was just like, wow. And it happened so suddenly because like you said, in the first round, Tony Ferguson was actually doing all right in comparison to his last few fights, especially. But, he went in there and the second round, a couple seconds into it, got kicked, and that was it. It caught everybody off guard.
You heard what Chandler said, though. The reason why he was able to pull off that kick was they were basically training to land uppercuts in that same space. Right. But in that instance, he just figured, well, let me just throw a kick, and it just happened to catch his ass. That's it. So, I mean, kudos to Michael Chandler for throwing it, even though he wasn't game planning to kick him straight forward like that. But, you can't take nothing away from Michael Chandler. I think it was a great knockout, fantastic. And Michael Chandler, his UFC career is interesting. He's 2-2. The motherfucker, he finishes Dan Hooker impressively. Then he goes and gets knocked out by Charles Oliveira. And then he gets beat the fuck up by Justin Gaethje. And then he comes back and he KOs Tony Ferguson. What you can say about all four of those fights is they've all been highlight reel fights. And I think people are going to be rooting for Michael Chandler alone for that. So shouts out to him. I know he called out Charles Oliveira and Conor McGregor. I think he'll probably get Conor McGregor first. I don't even think he'll get Conor, honestly. He has a better chance fighting Nate Diaz or something.
I can see it, something like that.
Yeah, because he's not going to get a title shot because he just got KO'd by Charles. And then he's not big enough for Conor. Conor's only going to go against a champion or somebody that could draw in millions of dollars.
Well, it's really going to depend. And Spencer, did you say anything about this fight? Did you give your piece?
Yeah.
It's really going to depend on what they do in the main event between Well, I should say the results of the main event between Charles Oliveira and Justin Gaethje, because Charles Oliveira, after the win he picked up, he now wants to fight Conor McGregor as well. So he might be busy doing that. After he picked up the submission, and Spence actually called it. He called it, except I think he called it in the fourth round or the second. Or was it the fourth? Yeah, so
I called it in the fourth.
Yeah, instead of that, it just ended up being 3 rounds earlier, after he got dropped and, rear naked choke. So what can you really say? Justin Gaethje, I'm not going to lie, he was talking a lot of shit like after the weigh-ins and whatnot, because if you haven't heard, Spence, there was a little problem with the scales. They said that they might have been 0.5 off, so they said that there might have been a mishap or whatever. So Charles Oliveira lost weight, then losing the belt. But Charles Oliveira went in there and, said that if there is a champ at lightweight, his name is Charles Oliveira.
He's the champ. To me, he's the fucking champ. He spanked Gaethje. After the first 2 knockdowns, I don't think Gaethje was expecting for Charles to pressure him the way he did. And I don't think he expected Charles to crack him the way he did as well. Because you could kind of see, like, once he got hit within the first 10 seconds of the fight, it was like the game plan, whatever he had, went out the fucking window because he was swinging for the fences. And Charles was whipping his motherfucking ass. He was knees, straight, hooks. And then next year wrapped him up, and he almost choked the motherfucker to sleep. But guess what? Gaethje quit. So much for the quitter, right? He was talking all that shit saying, once a coward, always a coward, da, da, da. And Charles made a coward out of a man. He made that motherfucker quit. And I'm happy too, because I'm like, yo, you was talking so much shit. Oh, the motherfucker didn't make weight. Fuck him. I'm going to knock him the fuck out. And then you had his fucking manager going hard as fuck on Charles too. So to me, I was like, I'm happy Charles won. I'm really happy because they're treating it like Charles missed weight by 20 pounds.
No, it wasn't like that. And not only that, if you know the story behind the scale, then you don't really want to act like that sort of situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had heard some rumors about a scale, but I just figured it was just like people just chattering. I didn't know there was any. I didn't know if there was any validity to it. But yeah, man, the way he came out, it was impressive, bro. Like even to me, I'll put it like this: leading up to the fight, when I found out Charles Oliveira had missed weight initially, I didn't know about the whole weight gate thing or whatnot, the scale gate. So to me, I just thought like, oh, he finally got the championship. He probably was taking it serious. Maybe had a little too much fun and he missed weight. Maybe we're not going to get someone as super serious as he should be, right? But going into that fight, and of course, seeing Justin Gaethje saying like, oh, I think I saw a post where he's like, oh, I'm like at 165 pounds and he's still cutting weight. Like, I'm thinking, okay, maybe this might mean something because we know how Justin can get when he has a plan, when it looks like he has a plan and he can strike. But when he came out, like you said, Lau, he got clipped in the first like 5 to 10 seconds of the fight. Like the first or second punch from Charles Oliveira, I think. Got clipped, and you could tell after that it was nothing but a downhill roll from there, man. It was, I'm not gonna say it was kind of embarrassing to some extent, just because of knowing who Justin Gaethje was or is. And also I think a lot of us predicted like, oh, and I think even Nigel said like, I think Charles could win the fight, but it's not going to be easy because you're going to have to get through Justin's hands first, his stand up. But it seemed like there was a whole nother switch that got flipped, man. Charles ended up tagging him a few times. He ended up getting knocked down. I think he got knocked down like once as well. And it kind of was like, okay, this could go either way. And not to also forget, like the fight before this was a snooze fest. So like this was just like the expectations already are so low that this is just like, okay, this is already an amazing fight. And then he ends up he's trying different things, trying different moves, and then he ends up getting him on the ground and does a submission. Justin Gaethje taps and then passes right out. Similar to, I guess, in the sense of like, not like Holly Holmes, where she said she went out on her shield. Because as we all know, Justin Gaethje's motto is either I'm going to knock him out or I'm going to get knocked out. never I'm gonna quit or tap. So
Motherfucker tap though.
yeah.
Charles wrapped his shit around. He was speaking that Portuguese in his motherfucking ear. He
Sleep. It's time to go to bed. Like, it's crazy, bro. It's crazy. I'm curious to see what's going to happen next now for both these fighters, primarily Charles Oliveira. Don't get me wrong, a fight with Conor would be interesting, but at the same time, like, I feel like his priorities, if he wants to fight with Conor too bad, I feel like his priorities aren't in the right space. Don't get me wrong, Conor's a big payday, and if your idea is, hey, I got a couple more fights and I'm out, go for it. But if it's like, hey, you fought Charles Oliveira has been around the UFC for so long, so for him to get to this point, I would think getting the belt would be more important to me at this point than anything. Because as long as you're the champion, people are always willing to pay, especially when you're submitting guys at every fight, just about, and pretty much tagging some tough dudes. So
now, I don't think it's crazy that they put Charles Oliveira against Conor for the belt. And I know that maybe it might not necessarily make sense as far as Conor's record, but let's be real, it's Conor. They're going to make it happen. If Charles Oliveira wants to fight Conor and he doesn't want to fight Islam next, if he doesn't want to fight Islam next and he wants to fight Conor, they're going to make that fight happen. That fight sells a hell of a lot of tickets.
Yeah.
Islam, I would feel bad for Islam if he would have took that RDA fight, because he was talking shit on RDA, saying blah, 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 this, that, and the third, and then he didn't take that fight. So he can chill and he can fight Beneil. That's the way I see it. Like, let Charles Oliveira get his money. He's been around for a bit, you know.
And he's finishing the top guys in the division.
Yep.
He's finishing the top guys in the division. I feel like Nigel was saying, Islam kind of fucked himself. He took that short notice fight against Bobby Green, who had no business fighting Islam in the first place. But a week later, he couldn't took that short notice fight against RDA. And I think that I understand the criticism with that. Yeah, Islam is the guy of that division. It should be him versus Oliveira. But when you play shady business, you know, it's like you win it or you lose it. And if you lose it, it ain't going to be pretty, excuse me. So he has to, unfortunately, he's going to have to fight Beneil Dariush. It is what it is. I think he'll beat Beneil, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, once he gets through Beneil, more than likely, he will get the shot at the championship. I don't know who Oliveira is going to fight next for the belt. I don't care if he fights Conor or not. If he fights Conor, I think he's going to spank Conor. I think he's going to do Conor pretty bad. I do. I after seeing how he spanked Gaethje, I just don't see how Conor has a chance. Especially coming off the Dustin Poirier losses. I don't see how Conor has a chance against Oliveira. I think that might be one of the worst matchups for Conor.
Yeah, I listen, man. I'm with you. Honestly, I think if Conor were to fight Charles Oliveira, and I think to me this is why I'm saying, like, I think he should be going for the belt more of, if anything, just because it's, for one, I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of, by a puncher's chance, I honestly I'm done with the Conor. The Conor ranking. I'm not gonna lie. Yo, because we all know Conor at least has power, right?
Right.
And I think we talked about, like, he's not one of those artists, he's not one of those fighters that you, at the end of the day, leg injury, MMA gods, I don't want him to win the belt, personally. I don't want him to win the belt, especially when he's like, he hasn't won a fight in like 3 or 4 years. Like, he's coming off like one of the freak accidents that happen to fighters where they typically are not the same afterwards. So it's just like, I understand it for Charles to get his money, and he's rightfully earned that right to get that type of payday. But I'd rather him do it with the belt instead of, like, okay, you get the payday, then let's say, we know how MMA is. If you don't take it, if you don't seize it at the moment, it may never happen again. I mean, look at Tony Ferguson's career and the whole Khabib thing. Like,
yeah, and look at Dustin Poirier. He chose the money fights over the title. Then when he got the title shot, he got his ass whipped.
See, like, It's better to listen, man. It's better to be the king at one time instead of never been the king because you liked rubies and pearls sometimes. So
here's why I see it, right? I feel like we can be happy that they're getting their money and whatever, but it's like what matters more, like the money or the belt? And sometimes you do have to make a choice between the two.
I think it just depends on the fighter's lifestyle. That's all. If the fighter is like, yo, man, I'm living in the hood. My family we need to eat. We need to live a better life. Yeah, you're going to take the money fight. But if it's kind of like we're living a decent life or a good life, assuming, yeah, I'm going to go for the title. So I just feel like it really depends on the fighter. Not everybody who's fighting in MMA, like hence Derek Lewis, is fighting for championships. They're fighting to get paid well.
That's right.
Yeah, that is.
No,
I just don't want to win the belt, man.
No, fair enough. I'm with you, man. If Charles and Conor get set up, I'm waving the Brazilian flag.
You already know how I feel about it.
Yeah, I think Charles, man, like, how can you hate on a dude like that? The dude took his losses back in the day, climbed himself up, 11 fight win streak, spanking the top of the division. And he's kind of like a humble guy, and he's not running from no challenge.
Nope.
So
I don't know, man.
I could stand behind that. And it is what it is. Conor had his time, man. It's over for him. He's not the same Conor as before. He's just not.
Well, I guess getting off of Conor because, that he just injected himself into that. We have the NBA playoffs going on literally right now as we're speaking. And the Heat are stomping all over the 76ers, just having their way with them. It looks like
they look like they're down like 40.
Like it's not good for them. They've lost this game. It's not over yet, but it is over.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no.
I'm just checking. Jeez. Still go Sixers, but geez, man.
Yeah.
Listeners,
it's 81-114 with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Somewhere Gilroy is smiling.
Listeners, as the time it is recording, and by the time you listen to it, Game 5, the Heat spanked the 76ers. At the time of this recording, right now, the fucking Heat are more than likely are right now 3-2 in the series. And by the time this recording comes out, it'll probably be Game 6. And I'm not saying the Heat will win, but if they put on another performance like this, it's over.
Just got to cheer for Game 7, man.
Yeah. I mean, that's all you can do if you're rooting for Philly.
No, it's a wrap, yeah.
No, Game 7, man.
No, that's it.
I think that, I was going to say, I think the Warriors, they're about to close out their series against the Grizzlies. The Bucks in Boston, that's probably going to go 7 games. Those guys, they're battling it out every other game.
The Bucks and the Celtics, I'm not mad at that series. I just wish that John Morant was in for the Warriors series because I feel like that's what made that series interesting. Yeah. And I mean, if it closes out 4-1, I guess it is what it is, but it's just unfortunate that it didn't continue the way it was.
Yeah, because that first game was exhilarating. It was really it came down to the last second, last point type shit.
Yep.
So shouts out to them. The Mavericks versus Suns. I don't give a shit. So
whoever wins. Yeah,
whatever.
So later last week, we got unfortunate news. It was pretty sad. We heard about the passing of Kevin Samuels. We just wanted to give our condolences to his family and say, RIP. Kevin Samuels definitely built a platform for himself in the past couple of years, but it's unfortunate that he's gone. And, just definitely condolences to his family.
Yeah. RIP, very polarizing figure. RIP. If the great Dr. Umar could shout him out and say his condolences, then why can't we?
I hear you on that one.
Facts. Rest in peace to Kevin Samuels. It was some kind of shocking news when this whole story broke. So, only thing I have to say is just the people celebrating his death. Like, there's something wrong with you. At the end of the day, like let me just say this. There's another discussion that needs to be had with anybody that's celebrating the death of somebody, especially someone you don't even know, that in a 1 degree separation, they had no interaction with you, and you only know the person from the internet. So
they're going to hell, man. They're going to hell. They will see the devil. You know,
Cozy said it, man.
They will see. I mean, I just feel like the dude wasn't a criminal. Whether you agreed with him or not, he didn't come out and do criminal shit. He didn't destroy lives, you know, and they're treating it like he ruined lives, and he caused so much detriment to cities and towns, and he came through and basically destroyed villages and kidnapped women and children. He was nothing like that. He said some controversial things, and I know not everybody's going to agree with it, and fair enough. If you don't agree with it, that's not a problem. But just sitting there celebrating, bringing out the piñatas and buying balloons, happy death day, that's crazy.
No, I think that's ridiculous. And it's like you said, it's okay to disagree with them, but I feel like that's just a lot for anybody, not just Kevin Samuels.
Exactly. Especially this person you have no degree of separation from this man in terms of like a direct like contact. You only know him from the internet and the conversations that his opinions and perspective and conversations brought to groups overall. Like, I don't know, to me it's just kind of sick to see something like that. You have no relationship to this guy, like at the end of the day. Even I've heard some people, and I've even heard some people say it's a shame that he died with such a negative message being out there, which to me personally, like I told people, like it all depends. It's all about your perspective at the end of the day. So it's like, if that's your perspective, who am I to tell you how you should digest any information? But at the same time, whether you agree, disagree, I don't think anybody agrees with anyone 100% of the time, exactly. even those that followed him.
Yeah.
So
we don't even agree with each other, and we're homeboys.
Yeah,
and we don't even agree with each other all the time.
Yeah,
facts. I don't think if I disagreed with one of y'all, I would be like, "Oh, something bad happened to me." I'm not gonna be like, "Yes, we gotta have a party."
That's wild. That'd be a crazy thing.
So get the piñatas out. Get that open. Put that. Let's play spades real quick. Grab some bottle. No, that's just weird.
Get the fireworks.
Yeah, like now if it was like, it's a difference in having a after like a death party, and it's the celebration of someone's life versus you're celebrating the death of a person. Like to me personally, I don't understand how that works, especially anytime people are calling to get advice from somebody. Who am I to have an opinion on that? Because if you know how the person gives advice, if you didn't like something, you don't watch it. You don't sit there. Like clearly he did something, and he knew what he was doing to be able to keep an audience engaged. To me, and the last thing I have to say on is, I think the most interesting part of Kevin Samuel's story is with him being almost 60 years old, right? To see like, and having a YouTube page for like 7-8 years prior to him even becoming who he became in the past 2 years. Like, it's always good to see a story of someone that's trying something different until they find a way, until they find like, hey, this is what I'm doing, and this is what success looks like to me, and this is what I'm gonna do. And then they find ways of pivoting into different other spaces. And I mean, it's safe to say, I think certain things changed once he got certain notoriety, but a lot of it, from what it seems like, he was doing the same thing that he did years ago. It just was there was no spotlight for the most part. So it's just it's always amazing to see just someone take whatever their situation is and make the best out of it. And when people leave us this early, I just feel like it's clearly like, hey, this person completed their mission, whatever that was, and they got called back home. So,
hey man, I appreciate that speech you just gave, because it seems like, you're just being one with the universe. Not you specifically, but the ones that move on. For real, man. You being one with the universe. The universe always knows.
oh man, listen, man. What can I say? I'm the universe, bro.
And hey, man, I have no problem with that. You may be a god.
You heard what you called me in the beginning of this, man.
Well, what's that?
Called me an African god, man. You called me Ra.
There you go, my brother. You have a domain of yours. You're a ruler of multiple galaxies.
Who said that? Was that I forget. It was one of those battle rappers that said something like, I could tell you how much the moon weighs with 2 fingers or something stupid. But yeah. But nah.
You guys have anything else for the listeners?
Listeners, as usual, make sure you follow us at the Highly Advised Podcast on Instagram, Advise Highly on Twitter, and make sure you subscribe to us at the Highly Advised Podcast on YouTube. Make sure you like our shit, comment, share, keep watching the videos, keep on watching the videos. If you already watched it once or twice, watch it a third time
and like it.
And like the motherfucker. Keep liking the motherfucker. Keep commenting. Comment on the other comments. Because if not, you're probably going to hell. The universe won't like that.
Yeah, I agree.
I've spoken.
I don't have anything for the listeners. Spence, do you have anything?
I've spoken, man. I've spoken. Drink your water. Drink your water. Stay safe. Yeah, just be safe out here. So it's starting to get hot. So it's starting to get a little, I don't know. And as much as the more you watch the news, the more you realize everybody in the world sees things differently. So
yes,
be safe out here. Be safe out here. Oh, just a quick question before we get out of here.
Yes.
And this doesn't have to be a debate, just your numbers for the Kendrick Lamar album that's dropping this Friday.
Okay.
Predictions. Final
predictions.
Final predictions. You guys are going to be shocked. 450,000.
Wow, he went up on his number. Who would have thought?
Hey man, I'm in the multiverse of madness.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
The multiverse shows me.
I'm gonna stick with my 500.
I think I'm still sticking with 700. So,
at this point, I can't hit y'all's numbers. I can't. The motherfucker's on fire. Musically relevant. What I've been saying for years.
The most PC answer, man.
What I've been saying for years.
When you don't like a rapper, I've been saying it for years. Great guy.
Just say it.
That's
great
funny.
guy. Raps pretty nice. Like the beat selection. Been saying it for years, man. It's like you clearly don't like this guy. Just like it's like Nigel with Drake or something, man.
With that being said, listeners, you have been highly advised. We will see you next time. Listen to Kendrick's album. Leave a comment. We will see you next week.
Yes, sir.
We are out.